All right, so this idea of bringing heaven to earth, it goes way back to the beginning of humanity. This is Göbekli Tepe. It was first built in 9600 BCE, and this is considered the world's first temple. It's the first temple that we discovered. We can assume that wherever humans go, they will build temples. Because, as I mentioned last class, humans are first and foremost religious. They express themselves through, they express their religion through art, architecture, music, dance, okay? And it's an amazing achievement because these pillars, okay, they're really tall. So we don't know how they were able to move these pillars into place. Okay, you can see how small people are and how big this is. But if you think about what we said about having a vision and then working together to achieve this vision, then it makes more sense. Okay, so let's discuss how they were able to build Göbekli Tepe. And this process is important for us to understand because it repeats itself throughout human history. Okay, so let's go over the process. Okay, the first is that there's always a charismatic leader. It could be a man, it could be a woman, but he or she has a vision for creating a temple, a place of God. Okay, that's what a temple is. It's a place for God to live on earth. And he shares this vision with everyone, and everyone works hard to achieve this vision. Okay, but then the leader dies, and now you have different people competing to be the new leader. Okay, why? Because a temple, and it's really important for you guys to remember, a temple is always the most valuable real estate on earth. Okay? If you are in a temple, people come to pray to you, right? So they have to give you gifts, they have to give you tribute. So what's happening in this time is that they would organize a religious festival once or twice a year. And people would have to bring gazelle, had to bring food as a tribute to the priests, and then they would celebrate it together, and then they would feast. Okay, so if you're able to control this temple, you lived a very good life. You were a very powerful person. Okay, and so when the first leader died, you would have a succession crisis, and they would vote who the next leader would be. And so what happened is they would have these trials where they prove to each other who the gods favored. Okay, so it's possible, maybe there are two hills. Okay, you stand on one hill, I stand on another hill, and we'll see where the bird lands. If the bird lands on my hill, then the gods favor me. Okay, because at this time, humanity believed that the mother goddess ruled over all. Because as humans at this time, you're concerned about two things, right? You're first concerned about farming, agriculture, fertility, and then you're concerned about having babies, okay? So that's why the mother goddess was important, because the mother goddess provided fertility for everyone, okay? But then over time, what they realized is, you know what? We can just cheat, okay? And how do you cheat? You cheat by forming secret societies, okay? By getting people to follow you, and then you swear blood oaths to each other, and you also maybe have sex with each other, and you become a faction, okay? And this led to a lot of political conflict. And the way they often settle this dispute or debate is through human sacrifice, okay? So if your faction lost, you'd all be sacrificed. And we know this because under Göbekli Tepe, there are tombs, okay, of human remains. So we assume that these people lost a power struggle, and as such, they were all sacrificed together, okay? So in other words, power struggle, political conflict, religious dispute, human sacrifice, secret society, they go all the way back to human society, okay? All right, so this is Göbekli Tepe today. Again, you can get on a plane, fly to Turkey, and then go visit Göbekli Tepe. Now, one thing that's really important for us to understand is that with our architecture, there's mythology in place, okay? And here we assume the mythology is the mother goddess, with a bird in the sky, and this might be a human skull, okay? So there's a very complex, diverse mythology in place. We don't know what it is, okay? But they had a sophisticated mythology. And also, remember, humans are diverse. So once the mythology becomes established, new people come to establish a competing mythology, okay? So this place is called Karahan Tepe. And as you can see, the mythology of this place, it's different. But these places are very close to each other. Okay, so this is maybe the cult of the skull. And the idea here is when people die, you can still communicate with them in the spirit world if you have their skull. Okay, almost the skull becomes a portal into the afterworld. Okay, so you can draw on their wisdom, you can draw on their spirit with the skull. And this called the skull, we see this in many ancient cultures, including in China. Okay, it's what we call ancestor worship. And as you can see, this is the cult of the skull. Okay, the Tower of Jericho. The Tower of Jericho is another settlement. And we just assume that, okay, if it's a tower, it's for defensive purposes. Okay, it's to ward off invaders. But there's actually a much better explanation for the Tower of Jericho. It's a religious temple. Why? Because during the solar equinox, the sun hovers above the temple, and it causes the temple to flood this area with shadow. Okay? So if you are a religious person, you feel as though heaven is coming to you directly. Okay? So you have a ritual, you have a celebration when the solar eclipse happens, and you can feel as though you're ascending to heaven, or heaven is coming down to you. Okay, that's the Tower of Jericho. Okay, Çatalhöyük. Çatalhöyük is one of the first settlements that we found. Remember, Göbekli Tepe is just a temple. So they would go there maybe once or twice a year for a religious celebration, but then they would leave. Okay, Çatalhöyük is where they decided to settle down permanently for decades. Now, in school, you're taught that we started farming because it allowed us to access more food. And so we could grow the population, we would become healthier and stronger, okay? But if you actually dig up bodies of hunter-gatherers as opposed to farmers, what you will realize is, one, hunter-gatherers are taller, a lot taller than farmers. Hunter-gatherers are stronger, live longer, healthier. They have better teeth. Why? Because if you're a farmer, if you're a hunter-gatherer, you have access to lots of different food, right? Meat. And getting the food is actually pretty easy, okay? You can just pick fruit off a tree. As a farmer, you have to work really hard to grow food that's not very nutritious. And often the food is just similar, okay? You're just eating one vegetable, one crop, okay? It's a very limited diet. And also, because of starch, your teeth gets really rotten really fast. Okay? Also, because you're living together in a close quarters, it's really easy for diseases to spread. Okay? So, it's hard for us to appreciate this, but being a hunter-gatherer, it's an easy, happy, healthy life. Being a farmer sucks. So the question then is, why did they become farmers? For religious purposes, right? So that they could settle down and be with their religion. Okay, be with a charismatic leader. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So this is Çatalhöyük. This is the religion of the mother goddess. Okay, and accompanying the mother goddess is the bull. Okay, because if you think about it, a woman cannot give birth by herself. She needs a male, and this male god is the bull, who represents virility, energy, strength. Okay, so they worship both, and as you can see how people are worshiping the bull. This is an image of Çatalhöyük. It's a very sophisticated community. It's also very egalitarian. And each house is a temple unto itself. Okay? So they have these paintings in order to bring in the energy of their gods that they worship. And that's why they want to stay here, because they want to be with their gods, even though it meant a harder life for them. Okay? This is Çatalhöyük. As you can see, it's beautiful. This is what it looks like today, okay? All right. This is another image rendition of Çatalhöyük, okay? As you can see, each house is a temple unto itself. And they bury the dead underneath, okay? So they're trying to practice a religion, like here. Okay. As I mentioned, each house is a temple unto itself. And as you can see how each house is elaborately decorated with, the bowl, with ornaments to their gods and to the religion. This is a gazelle, so they hunt gazelle for food. But as you can see, it's really a dance, right? So they're hunting the gazelle, but they see it more as a dance, as a celebration. And the reason why is, at this time in history, we feel an obligation to the animals we killed. We have to thank the animals that we killed. We have to celebrate the animals we killed in order to maintain balance and harmony in the world. Okay, it's almost like a contract. Before you can kill animals, you need to pray to the gods and ask for permission. After you kill the animals, you must thank the animals for sacrificing their body to you so you can eat. Okay? All right, you guys got it? All right. So let's go over the pattern of human settlements. Okay, and I need you guys to remember how this process works. So let's look at how Çatalhöyük came together, and I'll explain to you why it fell apart. Again, you have a charismatic leader who has a messianic vision. He takes us to this place and says, this is where the gods are. This is divine place. And let's settle down here. And as such, we can bring heaven to earth. And then they become a creative, artistic community. Okay? And they often choose a place where the climate is very nice. And that allows them to farm, to supplement their hunt and gather, okay? And over time, as the population grows, they become much more dependent on farming, okay? So it's a gradual process. It doesn't happen overnight. In the early days, there's lots of social mobility in that all leaders are elected. And also, it's very egalitarian, okay? Does that make sense? But over time, the system breaks down. What happens? Well, first thing that happens is because of overpopulation, there's too much stress on the environment, and so you have the land, you're not able to grow as much on the land. Then you have climate change happening as well, okay? Another big issue is that the hierarchy becomes hereditary. Before, the leaders were elected. Now, they are just inherited, okay? And this leads to corruption, where the elite bully and exploit everyone else. And people forget the memories of the first days. And so what do? People just get up and they leave, okay? You understand? You can always choose to leave. And so if you don't like the community anymore, you and your family just get up and you go to another place to build a new community based on your principles.